So when is it recommended to create wrapper errors like wrapper errors cause defect versus having defined as wrapper error 1, 2, or 3? I'm doing both patterns and it's getting a bit messy. Yes, that is indeed something that it's not immediate to decide. There is no real rule of thumb. I would say that it's that or not, because I would say that this depends a lot on your domain. Because let me, maybe we can do an example over that in here with our ticket repo that we have in here. So we have this ticket repo, which basically is a service that has three methods: one create that creates a ticket, one list that lists the ticket in the system, and one that closes a ticket. And there could be, for example, cases where for now I may decide that, I could have a ticket repo error. And that means that the ticket service has encountered an error while performing, for example, the create operation. And so you would ask, well, what error could that be? Well, it could be an error, for example, due to the underlying SQL storage, or it could be an error because the schema encoding has failed, or it could be an error because maybe there was a business invariant that this ticket repo is failing with. So how can I basically decide when something should go into the error channel and something else should go in the cause of a wrapper error? One thing that I like to think about is, let's say that I expose in here an SQL error. Would that make sense? Yes. But if you think about it, in here we are defining a ticket repo service, and exposing in here an SQL error, it's basically leaking how behind the scene this ticket repo is implemented. So let's say that, for example, in our system, at some point, maybe we have different storages. We have a file-based storage and one that instead is based on SQL. Having SQL error in here, probably it's not good, because again, you are leaking how your method is implemented behind the scene. Whereas instead having in here a ticket repo error and having then class ticket repo error extends schema dot tagged error class with the cause being a schema schema dot defect, and we'll import schema. Whereas having something like this, where we have our ticket repo error, that sounds better indeed, because now you are basically hiding away behind an unknown that behind the scene an SQL error has happened. And I would say that that's the distinction where you should decide what to wrap and what not to wrap. For example, in here, in our ticket not found, I would say it could fail with ticket not found and ticket repo error, for example, because it could be that there is an error behind the scene on how the repo is implemented, and an error which is domain error of the ticket not found. And again, this is interesting only if you expect somewhere to have some way to recover from this error. Because if in your application there are no way to recover from this error, well, probably there is no need to just keep bubbling up that error. You can just fail with a defect in that case. So hope that that replies to your question. That is something that there is no rule of thumb. It's black or white. Again, I think it's something that depends on your business, depends on if you expect that error to be handled or not. And basically that helps you decide. And also one other last pattern I would mention as well is that if you have errors you care about, for example, let's say that you wrap your you bubble this error into another service and you want to wrap this error, maybe if that service is known to being baked by the ticket repo and you expect that also in the exposed contract, it's fine to use, instead of cause schema defect, you can use reason and then you provide your error in here. So that way you can use the effect, catch, reason family of APIs in order to not only recover in case of ticket repo error, but you get also signal of which specific kind of error has happened in the year. So here it could be basically a schema union of error A and error B. Okay, hope that that replied to your question.